Shadows fall, dimming the light. Whispers grow, a rising tide. Vindicator, where do you hide? Steel is over, heart ablaze. Through smoky haze, he sets his gaze. Justice calls a burning need. A city's wounds he vows to heed. From cobbled streets to tower high, Vindicator takes to the sky. Strikes back with iron hands. Defender of this promised land. Breaks the chains, sets spirits free. Vindicator for all to see. Seek high! Seek high! Seek high! Whispers turn to thunderous roar.
Right, time to launch you into orbit. Wait!
Slams the door.
There we go.
Grasping hand, he fights for freedom, takes a stand with courage born of darkest night. He ignites hope, a guiding light. Strikes back with iron hands. Defender of this promised land. Breaks the chains, sets spirits free. Vindicator for all to see. Though battles rage and darkness reigns, hope's ember burns within his veins. He'll never yield, he'll never fall. He answers freedom's clarion call. Strikes back with iron hands. Defender of this promised land. Breaks the chains, sets spirits free. Vindicator for all to see. A symbol etched against the moon. Vindicator rising soon.
Hello, everybody. How you all doing? Makes a change to be showing my face, doesn't it? First time I've really done it like this, so yeah. Hope you're all doing well. How's the chat doing? Steve, today, no nonsense in the chat. Anybody who steps out of line, ban them straight away. We're not having no drama in the chat today. Keep it on topic and don't anybody try and take it off subject. That's all I'm asking today. Other than that, you're free to actually post what you want in the chat. Just don't post any links, don't spam or anything like that, or out you go. Simple as that. I can't be fairer than that. Debate is allowed, reasonable debate, be fair and honest with each other, and that's it. That's what you got to do. Right, let's go on with things. Right, so first off, I'm going to bring in Tom, 00 News. Just unmute you, Tom. There you go.
Hey,
Hi,
how
Tom.
you doing, Vin? How you doing, chat?
buddy? How you
I'm
doing?
all
How
right,
you
thank
doing?
you very much. It's good to be on.
Yeah, so first off, we're going to, you know Tom and his channel. Go subscribe to him. He's grossly misundersubscribed. He had his channel taken off him unfairly by YouTube. It quarantined it. They forced him to abandon a 20,000 sub channel because of his views. So go and help him out. Go and help him build his channel again. He needs your help. Let's try and get into 1,000 subscribers. By the end of today, let's set a target. By the end of today, I want him on 1,000 subscribers because he deserves it. He really does. There's a lot of work for everybody.
Would appreciate the support,
Anything you want to add, Tom?
No, just would appreciate the support. Obviously, the more encouragement we get, the more it makes us fight harder for the truth. So yeah, no, thank you for putting my name out there.
Yeah, and the purpose of this live stream today, this interview with Paul Burgess, is to get to the truth, because that's what we're all about. We need to get to the truth, and it's to give you people an informed decision about what is going on with political parties, what they're doing, the political spin that they sometimes put out there and don't really tell you what's really going on within the inner workings of the party. Well, today we've got a prime example. We've got somebody on the inside of that to actually tell us how it was working. So with that, I'm going to bring in Paul Burgess, and let's go on with things. Hello, Paul. How are you doing, mate?
Okay, doing fine.
Would you like to tell us a bit about yourself before we start?
Well, I'm just a normal bloke who 81 years old now, wanting to be. I'm angry about obviously the way the world's going, just like you are, especially in the UK. I feature in two areas. One is climate change and all the nonsense there, but I do the science, I do the technology to expose it all, which is crippling our society. It's huge. And I do that. I do economics as well. And I'm a political activist in some ways, but it's based on those two areas. So I tend to, I'm not loyal to any party, really. I'm loyal to the country. And I will not tolerate anything that's unjust, basically, just like most people. So I'm a very normal guy in that way. I'm not trying to pretend to be other than that.
Well, before we get to the meat and bones and stuff, also as well, could you just tell us a little bit about your political background as it's gone? As you said, you're not sort of faithful to.
Fine. Well, I took an interest in politics 70 years ago when I was 11. Right, that's when I started my interest.
Wow. Okay.
It was the Suez crisis, and that's what woke me up at 11 years old. So since then, I've been politically active. I ended up. I was seconded onto a Conservative committee locally and things like that. I didn't ask to go on. I was in the water resource industry for planning water resources. Ended up in charge of Wales for that, and including all the hydrology, including all the met stations and things like that. And I sat on government committees for Wales and things like that. And I resigned it all, actually. I was very highly paid for it, but I'd started a business and I to make myself independent, because I was there when people decided to do, in my view, criminal things, and against the population. So today we have problems with sewage going into rivers. Well, I was fighting against that, and I was actually censored for exposing that from within the industry back then. So in that sense, I suppose I've always been a rebel. I left and got front page in headlines in Wales exposing things. Since then, I've helped people, sometimes the underdog. I helped a man who was being charged water rates on his wooden building opposite his house across the road, no water supply, because when they visited him to check there's no water supply, his wife brought them a cup of tea. And he said, the cup of tea is conveying water across the road, you need to pay water rates. So I had that reversed within a day when I phoned up my own colleagues and said, do you want to hear about the £200 cup of tea, because it'll be on all the news soon. And so I've used the media a lot. I've appeared on the media over my years quite a lot, doing things like that. But I don't look for it. It comes my way. That's the best way to put it. I'd rather have a much more peaceful life. I just can't stand the injustice. So I do my best in that. And of course, I've got a Bachelor of Science and I've got a Master of Science, and I'm a retired chartered water resource engineer, which includes climate and all that. And I'm also a retired chartered environmental engineer and so on. I write many papers now,
Needless to say, you know your stuff. So how did you, and Ben, I'm going to hand over to you in a second. So how did you come about with Advanced? And before we get into the meat and gravy of Advanced and the college, could you explain to the people that might not know what Advanced College even means and what the Advanced College is? But how did you come about being advanced? How long you've been with them? Things like that.
Well, I'd actually in my own YouTube channel, I'd actually done an interview with Ben Habib and plotted and planned another one before Advanced was launched. And Advanced was launched 2 days before an agreed podcast with him. So when I went on, I said, look, I've already joined. I've broken my word, because I'd said to everyone, I'm not going to join another political party, because I like the principles. I like the way that was going. So that's why I joined Advance. And then there was to be a college. Now, what they've stated, this is all fabricated, by the way, I can tell you now, the whole college is a fabrication. It's just pure fiction. But they're meant to be a college, which is meant to be independent, people drawn from all parts of society to think together and get the root of policies going. Now, in the end,
so is it like a think tank?
A think tank that produces, germinates policies. And those policies have to be accepted by the executive. No problem with that, because you have to balance one against the other, you have to modify and so on. So if you like, a think tank, but an independent think tank. An independent think tank where you can even sack the leader, right? So if we had a vote, a majority vote would sack the leader. So it's powerful, yeah? So it's meant to be independent right from the outset, right in what they claim today, which is nonsense. Yeah. So I thought, wow, I might have a chance now to influence like net zero and economic policies from inside a political party that even stand a chance one day of influence. Now, there's another thing that Ben Habib said. He said that as we develop policies, and if they're good, other people pinch them, we're happy, because what we want is change. And that's what I want. That goes to my thinking the party is less important than the people. Do you understand me? The society is important, and it's more important. So I can't be constrained by something that's wrong just to fit in. I can't do that. So I joined, and I thought, wow, this is going to be really good. I'm going to be with intelligent people and so on. So I asked, could I go in the college, and I was let in without much fuss because they knew me. And so, and that was it, into the college I go. And the college has a WhatsApp group, and that's it. And on the opening of the party, the first conference in Newcastle.
Sorry, did you say it's just a WhatsApp group?
No. The college has its own WhatsApp group.
Right, I'm sorry. Okay.
The college members, there's only 17 or 18, let's get this right, are in a WhatsApp group. Yeah, the idea was to grow the numbers, but we have a WhatsApp group where we can discuss things. Yeah.
See, my next question was going to be, right, because a lot of wrongly, people have said, supporters of Advance have said that the college members have been elected to their positions within the college by the membership. And I think some people are getting crosswise because that hasn't happened, has it? No. Initially, Ben basically agreed to all the college members. A few people around Ben, but they did say you've got to start off with that. I accept that, and then eventually they get elected. Yeah. So college members can't be college members more than 5 years, and they fall out, and new elections come up, and so on. And so that was the idea. Now, a college member had certain rules. We can't claim any expenses, right? So to go to the conference cost me £1,000. Yeah, and that's fine with me. I'm not moaning about this, but that is a rule. And the other rule is you can't stand for election. You can't be there for political gain for you. Remember that one because of the by-election, right? Because every rule of the book is being broken, right? So those were key things in the college right from the outset. Yeah. And so that's where we were. So I understand when they say you can't have members electing people to begin with. You've got to initially get it going. I understand that. Yeah. But then what I found was, do you want me just to proceed now on what I found or? Yeah, you can do. Yeah, go with that. Yeah, carry on. Okay.
Yeah. So I found myself in the college. We had this WhatsApp group, and I'd raised some things. Now, one thing I was not upset, but slightly concerned about was how everyone was praising everyone. And I hated it. And it was like a self-adulation group, how clever we all are. And the executive, look how clever our college is and that. And I hated that because it's not about that. My work is not about me. My work is about the results I can get. That's the only thing that matters to me, right? And I'd be quite happy never to be heard of. I really would, providing I get the changes I want. So there was a lot of self-adulation going on. And then there was, I thought, sycophants in the sense that Ben became a god. He could have walked in with a halo over his head,
Oh, okay.
He became a saint. He became a saint.
That's interesting, actually, because he was calling Rupert Lowe the Messiah, and yet was that like a bit of projection then from Ben?
Yes,
Beebe,
it
do you
is.
think?
Yes, it is. And I fell for it. I mean, I fell for it. Yeah, totally fell for it. And so I didn't like the self-adulation going on. I didn't like the non-stop praise of Ben going on because it was over the top. So there was concerns there, right? But the day came when...
right from the beginning, just to be clear.
Yeah, this is right at the beginning.
Okay.
So I was in the college, and the Newcastle first meeting of the party came, and I was up there. And David Rhodes is an executive. He's on the executive, and he's the policy head on the executive. And he said to me, Paul, we're going to need you in the net zero group. And yeah, great. You know, that's where I naturally belong. I then said to him, I'm also interested in economics. He said, yeah, we'll look at that down the road. So I was then put in to a group called, well, I thought was going to be called the net zero group, but there was a gap and things happened. And there was another character, I've got to mention them. There's another character called Craig, who's now in almost every group, by the way. Now, Craig said, oh, he's got a lot of expertise in this. And as you do now, we had a WAG inside the group as well. Yeah. So besides the policy development, we had this WhatsApp group.
Just to be clear, just so people know what that is, that's WhatsApp group WAG, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah.
And things were being raised there. And I very quickly, and I'm not being big-headed here, but you very quickly realize there are people there who don't know the subject well. Yeah. And that's fine with me, because you need them, because you need common sense questions. I gain a lot by people asking me stupid questions. What they think might be stupid.
No such thing as stupid questions. Yeah.
No such thing as stupid question, right?
Yeah.
I always say that in my talks when I want people to, because they trigger things in me. They trigger changes. You know, I just did a big paper on science where I've explained every single year of every year's temperature since 1982, and I explained it totally. And I was doing one of the follow-up papers, and someone said to me, Paul, it's not a model. It's an index system. And I was right. So I had to go and change. So my own terminology was changed by people who don't know enough questioning me. So that's important. But there was also Craig. Now, he came from Cambridge University, and he said he's in the Department of Earth Science. Now, Earth Sciences really are a global name for geology, basically, and a few other things like that.
Yeah.
Now, inside that, he said there are some people who have submitted papers to the IPCC, which is the UN climate nutters. Yes, no argument.
Yeah.
And so he said that, and fine. That sort of gave him a qualification. In my video on that, by the way, I'll put a bloke looking at his next door neighbour who's a Formula One driving racer and pretending he's one. You know, there's rather a difference. But what I didn't realise, because I'm slow with people, what I didn't realise at the beginning of the talks was that we couldn't have a discussion. We weren't allowed to talk properly. David Rhodes controlled it completely. And I'll give you an example. So I wanted it called the Net Zero Group. Why was it called the Energy Group? Because energy is only one part of net zero. So when you are feeding cattle this rubbish to reduce their CO2, when you are doing 20% of farms in Wales being set aside for forestry and wilding, yeah, when you're doing lots of things outside energy, it's still net zero. Yeah. So I needed it to be called net zero. And the foundation of that is how you treat CO2. Now, I'm going to get very slightly technical here, but I'm going to make, honestly, if you don't understand it, tell me, because to me it's simple, right? And I just read by a theory, by the way. I've just read a known psychological thing where people who don't know enough don't know they don't know enough. That's dangerous, because that was the situation with Craig.
Well, just before you start, I've got a question for you. Right? How come you weren't head of the WhatsApp group, since that you've got more knowledge on the subject than anybody else in the group?
No. Well, I'll answer that one very simply. David Rhodes, who's on the executive, chairs and controls every single WhatsApp group inside the college.
Right.
So in other words, immediately, the executive control everything.
So this whole notion that the college is there to hold the executive to account is nonsense, because it's the other way around, isn't it?
Yes.
It's they have total control of the college, right? Okay, yeah.
Not allowed to talk. So right at the
Wow.
beginning, I said, if we can just, like Trump has now done, you say CO2 is not a pollutant, right? That is fundamental to get rid of net zero. And it isn't. I mean, we'd all be dead without it. It grows plants and everything, yeah, and so on. So they couldn't tolerate that. So I was shut up. There wasn't a discussion. I couldn't talk about it. So I thought, how do I get this around? So I said, can you understand that the alarmists, the IPC and that lot, and my lot, the realists, we call ourselves realists, my science is science, we both agree on something about CO2. And it's this, and this is fundamental to the science. A good lesson for everyone is everyone agrees in the science pretty well, both sides, that if you double CO2, you'll increase temperatures roughly by about 1 degree centigrade, right? How long will it take to do that? Well, at the current rate, 175 years. So there's not disagreement on that, right? There's no disagreement on that. So where does the disagreement come in between myself and the alarmists? Yeah, it comes in because they have about 90 models that give all sorts of different predictions, up to 5 degrees, 6 degrees, down to 1 degree. Now, if you've got 100 answers to a problem, only one of them can be right at the most. Correct?
Yeah, that's
because
right.
you can't have two rights, right? So you can have one that's right. Now think about this. It's possible that none of them are right. So it's either none or one at the most. So what do they do in science and the IP? They take an average of them
Go
all.
for the mean. Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
going for, 99 of them are wrong at least.
Yeah.
And so you take an average of the wrong ones. That is
Yeah.
not science, right?
Yeah.
So this understanding why, because they say a little bit of warming, the 1 degree, causes more warming, and that warming causes more warming, and that causes more, and it's called a feedback. A perfect example of a feedback is an explosion, a dynamite explosion, or a hydrogen bomb. That's feedback, yeah. But you don't get it naturally in nature, as it were. So I argue. So I thought, look, if people understood this, some basics, all right. So I went into the main college thing now, because if I can get people in the college, the other 17, 18 members, to understand this, we can all build on something. I posted a little video to explain this, a short video, and I was stopped by Ben. No, you can't.
What do you mean by stopped exactly?
He comes into the wagon and says, you can't do that. You know, we're not having this. You're not here to discuss the policy here that way. All right.
You can't express an idea.
You can't express an idea in the main college
Wow.
group without Ben Habib stopping you. That's what happened. So I thought, I was then at the Welsh conference, which Ben Habib didn't even bother to turn up to, which he was planned to turn up to, by the way, right? He's actually said he's not prepared to travel more than 3.5 hours from London anyway, Anyway, and it's 4 hours, I think, to Cardiff. He didn't turn up, and I was there with other college members, a few college members, some of which I have a lot of respect for, and I was on the point of resigning. So I thought about it. They said, don't resign, Paul, don't resign. So I said, well, first of all, the college is a laugh. It's totally controlled by the executive. You can't even discuss things. I'll give you another example. In the college in about January, I said, we've got to accept that most people in the UK have never heard of Advance UK, right? And I got a number of all the sycophants, no. And then Ben came in and God came in and said, no, that's not the case. Well, I'm sorry. Understanding what the problem is fundamental to curing it. Yes, that's what the case was with me and sewage, by the way, in the water industry, when I tried to help people to expose the truth.
It sounds like there's a lot of sycophancy going on.
Yes.
But were there any other members who were in that group who were also being shut down like that you saw?
No, because they weren't doing anything.
I see.
I mean, nothing was happening really. And I had a college member who was a friend. I'll pick up because that story was the final last straw. I'll come to that. But we used to talk on the phone a lot, sometimes for an hour or more, But and so that was closed down. So I contacted Ben and I said to Ben, look, I don't want to do this in public, but what you did was wrong. Yeah. And I said, I'm hoping it's just ignorance, because I can accept you not understanding, Yeah, but all I did, and so on, was try to explain a simple thing about CO2, which I've just explained to everyone watching this, and he sort of accepted he was wrong. Yeah, and I thought, well, I'll carry on. So now back in the policy group, and the way they discuss it is laid down. You can't. So I wanted in the policy group on energy, every time we only had 2 meetings. Let's put it that way: 2 meetings, 2 Zoom calls in the whole thing.
Wow.
And in the first one, I may have mentioned once or twice, why aren't we calling this net zero? Right? And no, Paul, you can't discuss that. It's not negotiable. This is David Rose. It's not negotiable. Now, I wanted to tell everyone about the problem. If you're going to solve something, you've got to know what the problem is. So they weren't willing to understand it. Now, this is the whole problem of CO2. The whole problem of now moving on to net zero. And the problem is this. We are quadrupling and trebling the amount of wind and solar. We haven't got use for it. Right? Mm-hmm. In other words, we're increasing the amount of energy at times when the wind's blowing and the sun's shining. The sun's shining time is always the worst time of day because the peak is in the evening, right? And the peak in the year is in the evening in the winter. But because we're doing this, where's that energy going to go? And it's a simple fact. Just accept it. There is no such thing as storage of energy. That's long term. Nothing.
It was on the moon.
Now, I happen to be the water resource engineer for Norwick Electric Mountain in Clanberis in North Wales. Yeah. And that produces 9.1 gigawatt hours. Now, in the recent 8 years, we've had an 18-day wind drought and a 22-day wind drought. And that would require thousands of Norwicks. It's so incredible. And battery storage, if you did it for that, would cost 7 trillion. But it would cost more than that because if you put that demand on the market, the price would shoot up. Yeah. So there's no such thing as storage. So how do I get this across? So I thought, I know, Paul, what I'll do to convince this group, because I'm not allowed to discuss it properly because it's out of order. Yeah. It's like a regimented where you have.
So let me get this straight, right? So the college was set up to hold the executive to account, but basically the college is just smoke and mirrors. It's there to give the illusion of accountability, and it's not really doing it. It's impudent. It doesn't do anything.
And it's there for ideas as well that also can't be expressed.
Well, it's there for ideas that are controlled totally by the executive. It gets worse as I go through this story, by the way. I promise you.
Crazy. It's insane.
So I did a video and I started doing papers and posting them to the WAG because I do scientific papers, I do explanations. So I started posting these things to the WAG, and it was like a black hole. No matter what I did, no one was listening. And right early on, Craig had come back on the college WAG, the energy WAG, and said, basically, no matter what you say, Paul, it doesn't really matter because it'll never end up as policy. So I thought, wow, right early on. Wow.
Oh, wow.
In writing. It's on my videos. It's in writing, the actual comment.
Wow.
So your opinion doesn't count then. You're in there to be an expert, and your expert opinion doesn't count for anything.
That's right.
Wow.
Not even the chance. No, not even the chance to account for anything. I don't mind losing out. I agreed to democratically accept the votes in the group.
Yeah, that's fine. But why were you there if not to draw on your expertise?
That's right. I don't mind that. But what I do mind is being told no matter what you do, no matter how good your argument is, it ain't going to end up as policy, Paul. And wow. I said, well, who are you?
Wow.
And it's in my video. And there's a really good video which goes through all this. It shows you the text and things. So I said, well, who are you? Are you a leader or something of the group? What I didn't know is he was. What I didn't know then was they'd already had secret meetings, if you like, Ben and David and Craig, and they decided it's energy. We're not going to be misled by Paul. Wow. So they've already... Why?
Misled, did you say?
Well, yes, it comes down to snobbery. It comes down to this lad came from Cambridge, yeah? And this lad, Craig, and he's a nice lad. I've got no particular argument with him. He came from Cambridge. He appeared on the Wizard. And on the Wizard, they said, what do you do? And he says, my research is into extraterrestrial life, yeah? And he was honest. He said, he used the word aliens. I look for aliens in the universe, yeah? Alien life. Now, technically, I can tell you, even plants, even a bit of mushroom or something is alien life, yeah. But he was making fun of it that way. But that's it. So I looked it up, and his paper's on that. Right? He's funded by a society that does that. So he doesn't get taught climate change in that sense, except in the most basic way. So, but people didn't know this, and so he was regarded, because he was Cambridge, and some people near to him wrote for the IPCC, as the word. And so we've got to control Paul. And the funny part is, the control of Paul is because they didn't understand Paul. They didn't even understand the subject. They didn't begin to understand it. I've just explained to everyone watching this that both sides, IPCC, the alarmist, and the realist, agree on a doubling of CO2, what it does.
Do you think their problem was about agreeing and disagreeing, or understanding or not understanding, or you just think they just didn't want to discuss it for some other reason?
They'd already decided who I was, and based on ignorance.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that, though? Who you were? What do you mean exactly?
My views. They thought I'd said and claimed and went on about, which I never have in my life, that man has no influence on the climate. There's no such thing as man-made climate change. Now, the funny part is, all my recent work shows that man contributes. The effectiveness of man is about 22% of the warming.
Yeah, I've never heard you say that.
Good, right? And so they don't understand the subtlety at all. So they had these impressions in their mind, and they had to stop something that didn't exist. And this comes to the end of the story, because that's when I found out much later on. So I've got this going on in the group, and so I thought I'll muddle along until we get to policies. Yeah. Now, in the way, on the group WAG, on the energy group WAG, they were bringing up ideas which were silly. Let me give you an example. The difference between Craig said, I've contacted Rolls-Royce. I'm waiting for information on the small nuclear reactors, because Rolls-Royce are way ahead. We're 10 years ahead in the world on small nuclear reactors. So I put in the WAG, that's not right. We're about 8 years behind. Because Rolls-Royce, let me explain, Rolls-Royce have only made nuclear reactors for submarines. But those have to use uranium refined to 90+%. That's the uranium you use for an atomic bomb. Are you with me? Commercial ones operate with maybe 3 to 5% tops. Yeah. And it's a totally different design. It's totally different. So Rolls-Royce would have to start designing. That's number one. Yeah. So Rolls-Royce are not ahead. They're 8 years behind in commercial. The people who are ahead are Korea, as it happens, right? And Korea prices for nuclear are about a third to a quarter of ours to produce nuclear power. So then they said, we'll do this, we'll do this. And they were saying things like, because it's British made, we'll do this, to which I was saying, well, are you happy for the public to pay 4 times the price? So don't you think they've got a say in this? To say, if you're going to produce electricity at 4 times the price, simply because in your world it's British? Yeah. I said, what we need to do is start a nuclear school, if you like, and train up people and go for the long term on this to catch up. Yes. But what we can't do is just impose 4 times the cost. If the average energy bill went up 4 times in the house, it would cripple people. We're already crippled as a country anyway. So I was coming across lots of things like this where I was saying, no, you can't do that. No. Then I realized there's no one in the group, no one who knows the subject, right? But that didn't matter if you could discuss it.
Exactly.
They were intelligent people. They were intelligent people.
The thing is, right, the reason there was a college set up was to have these conversations, develop policy, let everybody, I mean, you said yourself, we'll touch on some next and we touch upon this as well, is how all the groups within the college don't communicate with one another. There's no communication at all. They're all separate.
We'll come to that.
Yes.
Or a leftover almost. So what happened was we weren't, well, I thought I'm going to have to wait until the proverbial hits the fan later on when we get to policy, which we never got to, by the way, right? We establish principles, we do this. We even discussed Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and how we're going to do it before we've got it. I wanted to define the nature of the problem we're facing. Now, the problem we're facing is very simple. We are quadrupling and trebling wind and solar, and we're giving 20-year contracts to it. So how do you get out of those contracts? Now, at first, you may need the contracts as you have to build. So I did a paper and said the fastest way to get back to reliable power and escape all this madness and get cheap energy is coal. Yeah, and modern coal is very clean. And I give an example in Germany. Germany is 25% coal today. People don't know that. The green Germany is actually 25% coal. We're zero, right? And so, but a coal power station, maybe we could get going in 3 to 4 years, because we're going to be in blackouts unless we do something. Yeah. And that's one way. Gas is 8 years wait on the turbines. There is an option there to take old turbines from old aeroplanes and redo them.
So it's important to understand here. You were approaching them with a real set of problems and solutions for a real world problem that we're facing right now. So it wasn't like just a whimsical policy.
No. And what they were doing was Daily Mail wish lists. Now, if you have a policy that is just what you want, that's not a policy. And what I tried to say to them is, I kept on saying, you're going to do it. We need almost a manual now, because you do a policy and you've got to say how you're going to do it. Yeah. So all my world, I'm both halfway between a scientist, if you like, and an engineer, that sort of world I'm in. And so I have to, technology is simply applying science, right? If the science doesn't exist, you have to do it. So that's where I am. And so to me, it has to be real world and not just wish lists. I call those wish lists. Right, they're meaningless. Yeah. And so I wanted to get in I wanted to produce a manual, and for that we needed lawyers. Let me give you one example of how we could control the 20-year contracts. Yeah. Before I came on air today, I was just working on a new proposal they've got for a huge wind farm, 500 square kilometers, where the infrasound from the wind farm is underneath the water. Yes. Boom, you get the real low, deep sounds underneath the water. How does this disturb the fish and the environment? Well, but when you realize that everyone talks about how far it travels from 4 kilometers. But when you put 80 of them together, right, you get 500 square kilometers of sound. Yeah. And then on top of that, because they're different frequencies, you get beats coming, and you get much bigger size ones coming. Because when they combine together, it's big. When they combine against, they go nothing. Are you with me? So if you get two tuning forks out of sync, you'll get the beats. You'll be right, and so all of that. So I go into this. So you must understand, it was extremely frustrating for me.
I was going to ask you, this must have been a frustrating process to go through and be brick-walled everywhere you go.
I used to go and see my wife and say, she hold my head, and I'd say, God, we got to get some.
Really, was it that level of frustration in the end?
Yeah, but I was being a good boy. I was not, because I wanted to be there to get the policies in. Yeah. So that's how it was. But then what happened then was, bring it up forward now, and this is why I left. And there was 2 leavings. One was the college I left, and one was the party. Yeah. So I was talking to a friend, and this is the truth. I was talking to a friend who was a college member, and I said, why aren't we being told at the college, they've had a group on immigration, and they did a big announcement, I think from memory it was the 7th of February. We're going to have a meeting in London, big thing, 20 quid a ticket, and everyone can come and see these marvelous immigration policies. Yeah. Now, I didn't go for the immigration, even though I've done a lot of work on it, because there's lots of people can do that. So I didn't go to that group. But I'd agreed with David Rhodes right at the beginning that any group could give its policies as it refines them out to the rest of the college. I'll give you an example. Okay. If the immigration group had given it out to the rest of the college, the Welsh element of the college could have said, "Hold on, you've said English is the only language in officialdom. You won't get away."
Why didn't they?
Well, that comes to it. So I thought, well, I don't understand why they're not. So I've got 2 questions. So I went on the main WAG. So now I'm the only place where the college can see it. Yeah. This is not the energy WAG. This is the main WhatsApp group. And I said to my friend, I'm going to ask a few questions. So the first question, and it's a question, was, why is this so secret? Why aren't we being told about the policies, which you've already got, because your big announcement coming on the 7th? Why on the rest of the college, so we can bounce back? And on the lines of, well, have you thought about this? There's an example that in Wales, you've got to have the Welsh language, otherwise you're going to have uproar. Yeah. So little things. Yeah. Why? So why? And the second question was, why is it so secret? Why is it so secret? And why aren't you telling us? Yeah. They were the 2 questions. And then I stated just no answers. I was getting funny answers.
No answers. No answers.
Well, no answers to that. But I was beginning to get a reaction from other people, Craig in particular, and the bowler-hatted farmer was the other one who came in with things. And I said, I'm asking questions here. Then I said, just for clarity, I'm not asking what the policies are. I'm asking why we don't know and why has it been changed, the policy. Yeah, they're the questions. So then I said, look, there may be a very good reason for this, but I don't know what it is. So I almost made that statement, right? So this started Craig off. So Craig said, how can we expect it to do this? And I said, hold on here, Craig. Are you a member of the immigration group? Are you a member of that group? And he wouldn't answer me. And he was.
Why all the secrecy? Why all the secrecy about what he was doing?
The bowler-hatted farmer was. So the people around me, two of them there knew. Then Floss, who is, to be honest about it, very disruptive influence in the executive and everything. Okay. She came on, she's outside the college, and said, Paul, I'll create a new group for you to discuss this. So I knew WAG. So I said, no, because this is the interface between the groups and the college, right? I'm going to ask another question. Why can't we know who's in each group? So
yeah, it's supposed to be a party.
You're in the policing group, Fred. So have you considered this? Thank you, Paul. That sort of thing. Open discussion. Are you with me?
Yes. Well, I don't understand why they would need to compartmentalize it inside the
yes, I don't understand why it's all divided up.
Yes. Did they ever give you a reason, Paul, as to why it was so compartmentalized?
Well, come on, you'll come to it. So there's 4 or 5 people around me who already know the answers to my questions, but won't tell me. They tried to separate me off, and then I committed the big sin. I said, I will not be separated off out of this group because it's the only group that has all the members in it, all the college members in it. Within a minute, Ben came in, stopped the group. We have frozen this group. Paul's breaching the Constitution. That's what happened. This is the independent group that can sack Ben, and I've got all this. I've got it recorded and everything. Ben came in and said, no, this is breaching the Constitution.
So what was the breach then?
Pardon?
What was the breach?
Well, I got so upset with that, I thought, this is bloody pointless, right? So I then sent a message to Ben and said, I'm resigning the college forthwith. And he wrote back and said, thank you for your help. We welcome to work. We accept your resignation. Yeah. So then it became a bit of a turmoil going on behind the scenes. So then it was agreed that Ben phoned me that afternoon, which he did. And I said, Ben, all I did was ask questions. And he said, well, can we call it come back in and we call it bygones be by? I said, no, because we haven't solved the fundamental issues here. And to me now, the college was not just, it was so controlled. It was the way you control an 18-month-old child, as far as I was concerned. You'd have to go, honestly, you'd have to ask permission to go for a wee sort of thing.
That's what they made its whole use redundant.
Yes. So I said, no, there's no chance of me coming back. But what I will be, because I don't want the cause to go, is I will happily be an advisor. And he said, yeah. And he actually wrote to the college, Paul's agreed to be an advisor outside the college. Because it was always agreed that groups could call in experts from outside. Yes. And so I said that. So then the next day, I think it was the next day, I was chatting to another college member, he said to me, Paul, we don't want to lose you. I mean, what you've got in economics is actually quite startling. I have economic plans. I wrote papers on it. And it's based on reality again. And he said, if I formed a group, Paul, to discuss economic strategy, I said, yeah, economic strategy, that's what's needed. And he said, would you be willing to advise on it? So I said, yeah. So he contacted Ben. And this is interesting. He says to Ben, can I form this group? So we have to ask permission to form a group. So college members couldn't take off and form their own little WAG.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Right? So we have to ask permission. And Ben says, yeah. And he says, well, I'll only do it only if Paul can be an advisor. And he said, Ben said, yeah, that'd be lovely. Yeah. And I said, he came back and he said, we got it, Paul. I said, what we'll do is we'll go out to the rest of the groups. I want to get some principles accepted by everybody. We're going to build this. And I said, but it won't happen. And he said, what do you mean, Paul? It won't happen. I said, it won't happen. You'll be stopped. And then the next day, David Rhodes came in and said, right, with this group, I am going to be chairman and you're going to discuss it in this way. So immediately, bang, the group had gone. You with me? So I said, then I don't resign the college. And then I said, and he said, I can't believe this. You knew what was going to happen. I said, yes, because if you get run over by a bus and it reverses over you and goes forward over you and it reverses over you a few times, the next time it's going to reverse over you.
You know the drill.
You get the idea, don't you?
Yeah.
So at that point, I thought, well, this is pointless. The party is so fake.
Wow.
I'm resigning the party. So I resigned the party. At that point, I did a simple video, and it said, the only thing it said was, I joined the party because of its principles, and I've left the party because of its lack of principles. Yes. Then things got worse. Yeah, which we can go on to. I don't know whether you've got any questions at that point.
What would you like to?
You go ahead, mate.
Yeah, what would you like to do next? Would you like to go into the live stream, because I think that covers a little bit more of what they're actually like. The Richard Thompson and the Richard, what's his name? What's his second name? Richard Thompson and Richard
Thompson. Oh, yeah. What happened there? This is the founder of the Integrity Party, right? The other Richard. Richard
I've forgotten his name.
Short.
Richard Short, that's the one. Yeah, that's it.
Richard Short is a man I speak highly of. Richard Short is a man of integrity. Actually, he really is a man of integrity. He's an honest man. And I'm not going to reveal the conversations then, but he went, I know this, he went and researched the truth about Advance before he came out publicly. Yeah. I was aware of what he was doing. I helped him. I'm not going to reveal the conversation exactly, but I explained to him what's going on. I can say that. And he listened. He wasn't anti-Advance or anything, but there was so much going on. Now, I must say, when I resigned, there was something else going on I was very aware of, which is Richie and Rogue. Yeah. Now, Richie and Rogue were on tour they work their guts out in Wales.
Could you explain that a little bit more for the people that don't know?
Okay, Richie and Rogue. Right, Richie was phoned up when the party was starting, and Ben said to Richie, will you be the leader in Wales? Richie took 2 or 3 days to think about it and said, okay, yeah. He then gave it his heart. Yeah. So that's the appointment. Now, I was aware of this going on at the same time I did my double resignation. That's the college and then the thing. Yeah. And what happened was, on tour of all the meet and greets around Wales, and they travelled everywhere, worked their guts out. And they're talking about the grassroots people of Wales. I'm a working class. I mean, crikey, my first home, we had 5 families with 3 bedrooms. Yeah. So I know what poverty is, believe me. And Richie and Rogue are working it from the ground up very well. And Richie is actually quite well versed in how to do political parties. And
I've actually had conversations with Richie and Rogue, and hopefully we're going to get them on soon to do an interview like we've done with you to get their point across as well. Do you want to take a look at the live stream? So what I'm going to do is I'll bring up first the part of the live stream where they actually...
They'll launch the story, but we'll have a live stream break. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, what we'll do is we'll play the part where they mention you first, I think. So because that feeds into what's been going on so far. Yeah. Okay. What we'll do is we'll play it to the end, and then you can give your thoughts on it once it's all been played. Okay.
If it doesn't play, you can give your thoughts on silent movies.
Yeah. It's all right. It's StreamYard.
I'm joking. It takes a little while on StreamYard. Oh yeah.
Restore. But first, could you just give us a list of stuff that you think changed from Advance UK?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lack of confidence with members. There has been up until very, very recently. I don't know if it's changed in the last couple of weeks, but I seriously doubt it. There's been zero follow up to volunteers who've been trying to join the party. Very little anyway. There's been this big focus on like influencers, and it's, you know, it was supposed to be a grassroots sort of thing, but there's been a big focus on influencers. There's been nepotism in regards to a lot of people being brought over from the GB pack rather than people who were like properly good for the job. There's been sidelining of people like Nick Seaton Rogers up the north and Paul Burgess off the college, and there's no transparency from the core team, like none. I honestly, it's been disappointing.
Go on.
Okay, can I say? Yeah. So Nick Seaton Rogers obviously was I think before my time, and he was involved something to do with the Newcastle launch. He's a member, you know. To say he's been sidelined, you know, and again, you know, there's he had no role within the party to be sidelined on. Paul Burgess, again, he resigned from the college, right? So, you know, and just because you're picking on people that seem to be frustrated because they don't know necessarily what role that they were having or whatever gripe that they've got, I'm obviously not on the college. But, you know, again, that doesn't mean that things are rotten. You're picking on things that you're trying to say that are an issue. All of things, 2 weeks ago when you was part of the party, were apparently no issue.
So,
Right. I'd like to say a few things on that. First of all, they had videos from me on why I resigned. They had videos with a detail. They never answered one of them. They never actually dealt with a single issue I raised. They just do, there, Paul Burgess resigned. Yeah. And maybe it didn't quite fit in or something. Yeah, we'll come to that because I haven't finished the story yet. But that is the way they just push it to one side. They can't not know. They must have seen my videos. Yeah, they must have.
They just won't acknowledge it.
They won't acknowledge the points. And this is a problem for them. And this is what came out later. The way they avoid the point is demonstrated in the next part of the story. Maybe shall I carry on to that now to complete it?
yeah, do that. Yeah.
Okay. So then I did that video, and then Craig comes on to the Wizard. Craig Walton comes on to the Wizard, and he makes points about me that drive me bloody mad, which are totally untrue. So I do a follow-up video, you know, to say this is untrue. Yeah. And then I left it.
Hang on a minute. Are you saying that this Craig is actually the Wizard's Words? Is that him on YouTube, the Wizard's Words? Or is it somebody else?
Oh,
wow. I've had him on the channel.
Wow.
And he's a moron. And I'll say that out openly. He's a moron. He's a moron.
And,
he's a moron,
and so he was on that. That's where he declared he searches for aliens and things. But he also had a go at me. And then it was okay. I mean, I was out of it. I'm working on lots of things now. And then Ben Habib appeared about me. And that appearance by Ben Habib put me into the stratosphere of anger. That it really did. Well, he lied. He totally fabricated a story.
For everybody, again, would you just say that what he said about you?
Well, he said, Paul Burgess, look, I love Paul Burgess. Paul Burgess is a great guy, lovely guy, but Paul Burgess couldn't drop it. There's no such thing as man-made climate change. No such thing. He wouldn't leave the subject alone, kept pestering us, no such thing. And we had, who'd you guess who we had? We had Cambridge Professor of Climate. Yeah, Cambridge Professor of Climate Change.
Well, I can assure you when he came on the live stream, he was no professor because his debating skills were awful.
So we had this professor from Cambridge, and, you know, Paul, I'm sure he's got his own world, etc., but, you know, not our world. And we have to do what's best for the public. We have to, you know, and it just drove me wild. So then I did a video taking that apart. And to take it apart is very simple. Fact, Craig is a junior research assistant, not a professor of anything. He's a junior research assistant studying aliens in the universe. Yes? Okay. Now, I understand his position. I think he's intelligent, And I think he's quite a nice man. And in his position, if I had to leave university and go for a job, I don't think I'd be qualified for much. But I can think of two things. One is you could go for McDonald's and serving McDonald's, or you become a politician. And he's obviously gone intelligently to become a politician because he's now in almost every single group. He's made himself indispensable, right? That's fine. But don't forget the Buckley, who stood in the by-election. Yes, he was asked to stand in the by-election by Ben Habib, but college members aren't allowed to be political and stand in any political role. So all the rules are just broken in every single direction. In every single direction. So it doesn't mean anything. So
it seems like there's rules being imposed upon you, but then they're breaking their own rules when it seems fit.
Absolutely. It's a dictatorship. And this is the important thing. There is no democracy, right? There is no democracy at all. At all. And then when you go, people lie about you. So Richie and Rogue were cut off midstream on a tour. They were cut off for a piece of software called Nation Builder that they had all the contacts in, all the reservations in, and because they had to declare where the meeting is going to be at the last minute and all this. And they were just cut off. They didn't even know where they were going next properly, right? So when Richard Thompson's on, as you've just seen there, all nice and smooth, right? Richard Thompson, when he's all there saying, you know, we handled this and that correctly. No, they didn't. They cut them off at the knees and left them desperate. The man who had been invited to be leader of Wales. Now, let's just deal with another thing. I don't know whether you've got it, but have we got
that will lead into the next bit, actually, where they're talking about Richard Rogue.
It's worth playing. Yeah. It's worth playing. But you know, so I've gone from a world now, and now I begin to piece the jigsaw together. Craig, the expert, is being promoted overnight to a professor when he's only just made the junior research assistant sort of thing. Are you with me? Into aliens, for God's sake.
So, do you want me to play that segment from Richie and Rogue so we can cover that? Yeah.
Yeah. In the Constitution, we rolled out policies. We're bringing out more policies. We're building up our regional directors. We're building up branches. Let's go ahead with your examples.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so tell me what happened in Wales.
What
happened in the northeast?
Again, you need to give examples.
Let's go specific. What happened with the Welsh team in regards to their tour of Wales? I'd like to know about that because they were halfway through a tour of Wales and all of a sudden that got stopped.
Nothing was stopped. Nothing when we went through. I would say we're going to go through probably 3 phases in total. First phase, party gets formed by Ben in Advance UK. A constitution gets adopted. We then set out on getting 30,000 members to show that the electorate is behind us. That happens. We then become a political party, registered, and then we need to roll out a national framework that's uniform, that goes with due diligence, and it isn't centered around any individuals. It's pulled out of our members, of people that put forward on meritocracy. So what happened in Wales, if you're referring to, which is what I think you're referring to, stood down for personal reasons. I don't know what those personal reasons are. We wanted him to stay on. He decided to stand down. And who I believe is his partner had applied for the role of regional director. We had a pool of people that had applied for that role, same as every single other region. And we interviewed everyone for a rigorous process. They have a screening interview. There's a secondary interview where they adopt a 100-day plan where they go through what that 100 days would look like, how they would build out branches and what they would do for competency checks. That then goes to a third and maybe a panel interview where they're rigorously tested. And we decided that after, I think it was the second stage, because obviously we need the initial screening because we knew her, we decided that we wanted to keep her close and work with who we selected, and we went for someone that's got more experience. So it's as simple as that. So nothing was stopped.
More experience than actually building up Wales. Because they did a hell of...
Well, that was it on that one.
Right, on that one, it's not true what he said. Nothing was stopped were his exact words. Nothing was stopped. Yeah. They were stopped midterm and their communications cut off. Right? Next. Pardon?
Sorry,
He
carry
did. He did.
Oh, he did. He did.
He did it, yes. And that's the first point. Second point is, let's talk about Rogue and the interview. And after the second stage, that was it. Yeah. She didn't have a second stage. She had no stages. The first stage, they accepted, they knew her. There weren't any more stages. So that's not true either. Right?
Paul,
That is
can I stop you a minute? Do you mind if I invite Rogue in? She's in the chat. Do you mind if I invite her in?
Bring her in, lovely.
Yeah, I'll invite her in. Is that okay with you, Rogue? Are you set up to come into the chat? Because I think it'd be important to have her viewpoint as well as yours.
I think it's more important than me on this. That's the horse's mouth.
Great, we'll do that. I'm going to remove this. There we go.
I'm glad you're getting to the truth of this. The only time.
Yeah, it's great because this is what we're here for. This is what we're here to do. Because there's been a lot of lying, and it seems like it's nothing what they make it out to be. The Avanti Party is nothing.
It gets worse.
Narratives.
Just so everybody realizes, I'm only inviting Rogue into the live stream. Anybody else will be kicked out. Okay. Right, I'm inviting her in now. So I'll drop the link in the chat so she can come in and have a discussion. The link is in the chat now, so if you want to come in, you can come in. There was this super chat. Thank you for the super chat, the donation. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Oh, wait, Paul, did you feel at the time when they were not listening to stuff and they didn't share the policies and that with you? Do you feel like it was maybe because they knew that you would rip them to pieces with common sense and they just wanted them to go out as they were?
No. I don't think it is. I think that they're arrogant enough and bloody up their own things enough that I'm trying to be not rude. I think they're just ignorant.
Be as rude as you like. Be as rude as you like. We don't care.
It requires a ruthlessness with the ignorance. It requires someone who, when they made a mistake, doesn't apologize. It requires someone who can put people under the bus and not worry about it. Yeah, it requires someone to do that. And I have no respect for Ben Habib whatsoever. I think he's a pretty lowly human being in terms of the way he presents himself with a ring above his head, walking in as a saint, and what he actually does to people.
Right, because a lot of people have tried to say, "Oh, it's the party, it's not Ben."
Oh no, it's Ben. Oh no. Ben hides behind it. Look.
Right.
Ben knew when I resigned from the college. He knew with a phone call that day. He knew that all I'd done was ask questions. Those questions. I've told you the whole truth. I wasn't doing anything else but questions, right? Mm-hmm. I like, are you a member of the college? No answer. Why wasn't anyone answering me? It was like being in a dark room and no one would answer you. Yeah. Everyone knew the story except you, and maybe you were asking something that would expose something. Yes,
right.
Maybe I don't know. I honestly don't know. But this is pure ignorance. But in addition to the ignorance, you need to have a very hard heart, and you have to have an ego. Right, okay. You have to have an ego. Is Rogue coming in? I'll be waiting for that. She hasn't.
She says she can't log in. I'm just waiting for her to try and get the link, and I'll just put her straight in.
Okay, all right.
But I think she's working on it. Yeah.
So the way Rogue was treated. Now, in addition to that, then you've got. We've got only yesterday, and we've got more to come. We've had. Well, I can't. I can say it. Well, there are resignations coming. I'm not sure I can say here publicly. There are resignations coming from the existing agreed candidates in Wales. Are you with me?
Oh,
existing candidates, and they've had no vetting at all. Let me put it to you this way: the party.
You said they've had no vetting at all.
Correct. They say it, and they were appointed.
Right.
And so there's stuff to count there with Prosser, who's in charge of Wales, who hasn't got a clue what he's doing, right? I've had to help Rogue and Richie with a legal response from that man, Richard Thompson. Yes, saying, hand over certain things and all this. It's for them to tell that detailed story. But, they've been threatened, in effect, legally. Yes. I've heard rumours started to know where they came from, which I'm not going to repeat, about Richie, which are totally untrue, but I know they came from the executive. Yes. and so on. So there's dirty tricks department is great inside Advance. It's great.
Wow.
So you can have Richard Thompson. I get angry about this. You can have Richard Thompson. I'm talking about other people now. You can have Richard Thompson come on and say, oh, the procedure is this, the procedure is that. This is nonsense. Absolute nonsense. They've got to, in Wales, there's 92 constituencies under this madness we have, and unless you've got 92 candidates, you can't get any help for leaflets or anything. Are you with me? You've got to stand the whole lot. Yeah. It's a £500 deposit, which you're going to lose. Yeah. And so on. So you've got all that to do. And what they're going ahead in 60 odd days to choose and vet 92 candidates. Give me a break.
Wow.
No sensible party could even consider that. The thing in Wales is dead simple for everyone, because Rogue and Richie, and like myself and like Voice of Wales, put the country first, right? And what we need in Wales is to get rid of Labour or Plaid Cymru, who are extreme. They're extreme people in Wales. And we need to get reform in. Now, I'm not an advocate of reform. I'll hold my nose and vote reform. You with me? But that's the only way we're going to get rid of them. So that's more important than a party. Yeah. Now, if another party, let's hope Restore Britain is coming up and they're great in the future. But we've got elections in May, you know, and the beginning of May. That's all. I think it's probably the 5th or 8th, I don't know, at the beginning part of May. And that's all we've got. And these people are all going to lose their 500 quid deposits. These people won't get the financial help or the airtime the others get. These people will do nothing. But it's a new proportional system of new proportional representation system. Not even the old one. It's a brand new system. It's all geared where you vote for the party and the individual. It's quite strange.
It sounds an awful lot the way you're describing this. Like, it's very discombobulated, and there's only a few people at the top that know what the hell's going on.
Yes. Yeah. So, but there's nothing going on. Wales is being destroyed by Advance, for Advance, because all those people who Richie and Rogue were setting up constituencies and things, you know, they were into it all. And these people who've been involved, you know, there was a bloke who, you know, I felt a lot of humility for. He was crippled. He arrived at the meeting, a meet and greet. You know, he could hardly afford anything. And he matters to me. He matters, he contributes. All these people have been shoved under the bus by these nice Richard Thompsons and so on, because all he's saying, it's like an army bloody general. You're going to do this, and this is the procedure, and we're going to throw anyone under the bus. We're going to the fact we appointed you as leader of Wales, you're asked to do it, and you put your heart into it. That doesn't matter to us, right? Ben Habib is one of the worst characters I've ever met, actually, because he pretends to be something that he's not. It's as simple as that.
Should we play the next part of the segment? I believe this part is the one you want to talk about, the constitutional breach.
Yes.
That you want to talk about. Should we play that one next? And then the next one after that is about the £5,000 donation that was given back. Yeah, okay.
Constitutional breach.
All right, so I want to bring in Richard Thompson here. So in your video, you mentioned the 8-minute video that we had to cut down. Obviously, Richard J. Shaw, you meant when you were leaving the video that, of course, of yourself announcing that you were, you know, leaving the party. You mentioned the reason why you're leaving the party is because you believe that the membership has been breached, the constitution has been breached. And just to quote you, you think it's rotten inside. Now, Richard Thompson, anything to say about that? Is it rotten? What's your initial reaction when you saw? First of all, what's your initial reaction when you saw that tweet of course, Mr. J. Shaw leaving? And after watching that whole video, is it true?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously disappointed whenever I see anybody, they're deciding that they're going to, you know, step away from the party. I think what was important for me, and you've seen this quite a lot online, the sort of vitriol and things like that. And what really sort of I detest, I don't mind criticisms of the party. I think that's really important for it to grow. I don't like, you know, narrative framing and falsehoods. I think that's something that we should push back on.
I don't know how you can say that with a straight face.
I don't know.
I
what
know.
to say either.
And for the most part, we're really more focused on the government's shameful stance with, the US and how that they've not backed up US collaborations there, or Rachel Reeves's budget, or lots of other things that are going on. So we really want to stay out of any kind of spat. So this will be friendly. But I will say that it was important to sort of push back when people, from in the Marines, we used to say someone was spicing up their dits, which means exaggerating or falsely representing narratives. To say that the wheels fell off and there was an investigation done, I'll have to be honest with you. I sit as national director. I talk to the members. I talk to the regional directors. I talk to, the college members and everything. And I've seen, obviously, some of the posts. I've seen some of the videos about how that the only people making the decisions are people that are Ben and closely circling around Ben. And I just thought that's obviously completely incorrect. So I wanted to come and hear what this investigation was so that we could discuss it, because obviously it's incorrect. And then to say that, there's only a select few people making decisions, but I'm going to join a party without a constitution where all the decisions are made by one person seemed very hypocritical. And I'm all for a lot of things with Restore, but I don't like some of the online comments that have been thrown around. I think that behavior isn't really what's going to bring the country forward, right? And as far as I can see it, for a lot of the cases, a lot of the supporters with Restore, with Advance and with Reform and the grassroots really need to not be sniping and attacking each other. Grow respectively, grow with decency and honour. And
wow, I'm sorry. Honour. You've shown no honour. None of them have shown any honour.
Look at all the drama that's been. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we'll go into it in a bit. That part made my blood boil when I watched that bit. It was like, what are you talking about?
Is there more to it? He says about the Constitution, I think.
Combat any kind of alliance that happens on the left between Labour and the Greens.
Right. Now.
No, that's it.
Is that it? Right. He goes on, there's no constitution being breached. What do you think Ben Habib coming into the college, freezing the college, freezing it. Paul has just broken the rules. He's broken the constitution. That is interference in the college, isn't it? What about cutting off Rogue and Ritchie halfway through? Things like this. This is throwing people under the bus. What about total fabrications about me, about the problem with me, which was not true? And when you actually watch someone like Ben lie through their teeth, or let's say he's not lying, let's say he's been told this, but then hold on, he knows, because I had direct contact with him. He knows why I left, because the moment I left, we had a telephone discussion after that, right? So he knows it's not true. He knows I left because there was no proper setup in the college whatsoever. There was no independence. It was totally controlled, and he knows this. So he goes on there and tells something that's totally untrue, right about through every single word. And with ending up with even a lowly junior researcher being promoted to a professor in another subject, climate, and he's not even a researcher in climate.
What did it make you feel? And because you've been in other political parties, have you ever experienced this in any other political parties? How does it make you feel when you see someone on the screen literally doing what we all hate politicians for, lying straight to the camera, straight to the screen? How does that?
Well, I've had it once before. I had it in 2016 with Nigel Farage. And in 2016, I was in Brecon, Wales on the committee of UKIP. And they tried personal attacks on me. They tried everything. The whole committee resigned. So it wasn't just me. I went on television saying, if you knew what I knew, and this is what the UKIP committee said, I was with the chairman, you would not vote for UKIP, right? And there was a man at the time central to it called Nathan Gill, right? So when I resigned that party, and that's the only other party I resigned, right? When I resigned Nathan Gill, it was Nathan Gill, who's now in jail for over 10 years for taking money from Russia, right? I reported into the EU for financial irregularities in 2016. Nigel Farage put Nathan Gill before us, and Nigel would not listen He would not listen to us. It hit him in the back of the neck this last year, of course, when Nathan Gill was jailed. So I've got a sort of Forrest Gump life. I'm always managing to be somewhere where something big happens, you know. but that's the truth. And so I have come across it before. Yeah.
That's a good question.
Right.
Can we just address this? Can we just address this question here, right? This is from Kenny. Where has all the money gone from Advanced UK memberships fees if Paul wasn't even paid basic expenses for his work?
Yeah.
I was
That's
never
a good
mentioned.
question.
Now, the college cannot, and I agreed to this and I support it. No one in the college can claim expenses. Nothing.
No, but what I think we were asking is what's happening with the membership fees? Where's the money going?
I don't know.
Right.
I have no.
Yeah.
There is no. It's a dictatorship from the top with a few people. It's Ben and Floss are the two top ones, and then you've got then you've got David Rhodes. That's it really, and then they've appointed new ones like Richard Thompson, but that's it. And if all that was good by Richard Thompson, you only have to look at what's gone on in Wales with a new regional director, right? And by the way, Richie wanted Wales called the Welsh. He didn't want it to be a region of the UK in that sense. He wanted it called the Welsh thing with a Welsh leader. Do you understand me? And he wanted a Welsh identity to it, which is important politically. Yeah,
Which is fair enough. Yeah.
He's got more
Absolutely.
political nous in his little finger, in his little finger, than Prosser's got. Prosser's got none. So how can you? It's infinity. isn't it?
Right. So what I thought we'd do next is we'll look at the last segment, which is obviously the £5,000 donation, and then from that we'll go into, if you'd like to, questions and answers from the chat. We'll get people to ask some questions, what they want to ask you, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. Any question?
I'll just ask a very quick question.
Yeah, go on,
Just
Tom.
before we broke for the video, you said Ben Habib isn't what he is pretending to be. What did you mean by that?
Well, he comes across as a saint. You know, I don't want to be leader. I just want to, I don't want to be leader. I don't want, this is important for the video, actually. I don't want to be the leader. I'm putting 100,000 quid in once we got to the 30,000 membership. I'm just doing it for a change. I'm secondary to all this. He comes in with a thing around his top of saint, and he's regarded as a saint by many members. And it's the hypocrisy. It's the contrast between that and throwing people under the bus. And walking away from it, getting other people to do it very often, but walking away from it, from not answering. If he was honest, look, I'd have resigned anyway because of the treatment of Richie and Rogue. I'd have resigned for others. No one in the college defended my position after seeing me go because I was asking questions. Why didn't the other members in the college say, hold on here, freedom of expression is important? Why didn't the other members say, hold on here, we can't be controlled by the executive like this? Yes. No one did. No one did. So you've got to understand the situation that's there. And it's not because I am a rebel, I suppose, but I'm only rebelling against ridiculous situations, right? And I did, after the initial almost resigning, I stayed on trying to bring change when it came. But if I can't even ask questions, just questions.
Yeah, it's a dead end.
Really, really wrong, isn't that?
Yeah.
And this Ben stops me from asking questions, and he never apologized. He did say something to the group later because I was told about it because I was cut off, and he said he didn't actually break the Constitution. Oh, thanks, Ben. Right? I didn't get an apology, but you never do. You never do. The dirty work has to carry on. The work is more important. That work is more important than people. And then in my video, Ben had done a thing about if the process you use is dishonest in itself to get somewhere, then it's not worth the end. The process has to be honest. Well, Ben Habib, you're not honest in this process. Your party is not honest in this process. I challenge you, Ben, come on a live stream with me then. Come and defend the fact that you could come into the college WAG and stop me asking questions, because that is not independence, right? And as regards the policies in the college, the best of blinking luck. You've got 16, 17 people who there isn't enough skill there. I'm not being rude to them. There just isn't enough skill there. And there's not enough specialist skill in the various things, right?
Just to ask this question before we play the next part of the segment, right? Obviously, I'm going to have to ask this, right? What would you say to people that say, oh, he's just a person that's got sour grapes and he just left the party because he was.
Yeah, axe to grind, that kind of thing.
What would you say to people like that?
Very simple. Look, first of all, I'm quite precise about why I left the party. So you've got precision. So if it's sour grapes, let's deal with one issue, just one issue out of many I've got. How come the chief exec, the Ben Habib, can come in to a college WAG, which is meant to be independent of the college, with the ability to sack him, etc., and stop me asking questions? Right? How come that can happen? Now, if you can accept that's okay, fine. Call me sour grapes, call me what you want. Why sour grapes? I don't want power. I don't want power. I just want a change in our society. I want the right policies to get wealth back into the UK. That's all. It's not about power. You know, I was on GB News highlighting the plot of people in Port Talbot, 3,000 jobs, which actually relates to a further 7,000, 10,000 jobs going. You know, in a world which is already not great in Wales, right? And what they're going to do is they're going to pay billions to put in electric furnaces to make substandard steel, like you can't use for proper construction or anything, or tanks or anything. You can't use it for that. To make substandard steel on energy, on electric furnace, and the electric costs 4 times more than our competitors. So there's no future in that either. So I just go rebel against that world.
It's the proof that you've been lied about as well, and you feel like you need to set the record straight on some of these things as well.
I'm glad, yeah, this has given me an opportunity to tell much. But it's the first opportunity I've had independently, if you like. But I've told it in my own videos, and I've given examples. So when
I've heard you say that.
No matter what you talk about, ain't going to end up policy, and it's not a good way to start off a group, is it?
No,
I actually heard you say that in your videos. You've got all the evidence to back all this up anyway. So if anybody's actually got any questions about what you're saying, they can just come to you and get the evidence, can't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
right, I'll play the next segment. Yeah, I'll play the next segment. Yeah, I'm sorry I had to ask that question, but what I'm going to get in the chat, in the comments.
I get it. That's natural.
Yeah.
Then all you have to do is explain that. If you accept that, then I don't care.
I'm happy to keep going.
Let's talk about this rape gang inquiry donation as well, because that was a real nail in the coffin for me when Ben took that money back off Rupert. Because say he didn't ask for a refund. Okay, he didn't. Rupert offered, but why? Why did Rupert feel the need to offer that?
This is unfortunate narrative framing, and you're going off.
I'll stop it there a minute, right? We all said we're going to have a drinking game to this. That every time he says narrative framing, because he says it. I lost count how many times he actually said this in the interview.
I mean, narrative framing. What does that mean? It's just the glossy thing over it. Yeah, meaningless. Carry on.
It's like debating with a lefty. This is something a lefty would do to distract away from the conversation, isn't it?
Empty vessels make the most noise.
It's a question.
Details on. Right. So when Rupert decided to launch, and let's be fair, let's give the whole context rather than go down, this sort of, this silly line that you're taking, where you're just sort of finding things that people like Basil have posted online and taking that as your information, right? Ben has been the biggest supporter of Rupert. When Rupert had his back against the wall from Reform, they were attacking him. Ben was the person that was there supporting him. He's been his biggest supporter throughout everything, right?
Can I just say again, right? How he can go on and say that with a straight face just beyond me. With all the name calling, with all the smears that have been coming out from
called him a racist. I mean, in actual fact, don't forget. They were both out of Reform. They supported each other in that way. Yeah, but I mean, Rupert didn't really need it. Rupert is going to strengthen himself anyway.
Yeah.
But don't forget, this man, Ben Habib, went from day one when the party was launched, Rupert's party was launched, saying we'll merge. And what he meant by the way was merge was we'll bring our team across, we'll bring our marvelous college across, which I've explained how bad that is. Yeah. And Rupert, can I tell you, I know for certain this is not me doubting it, right? For 100% certain, I know Rupert knew the truth about the college. Right.
We'd all speculated on that, but it's good to hear
I know. I knew right from the outset there was no chance of a merger. But what they mean by a merger is what? You know, Rupert's got this fantastic machine going, and they bring across what? I'll tell you what it's about. It's only about rescuing their roles in power. It's not about the party. It's not about, it's
in
about
some of the
rescuing.
external ways of I've been viewing this, just as a member of the public, it seemed like the Advanced Party is very amateur hour-ish. Is that what you're seeing on the inside?
Yes. I mean, Ben has even said recently in the last few days, he said, you know, and I'd have been happy not to even be deputy leader. I'd have led the college. Well, Ben, you're already bloody doing that sort of thing, you know. So, no, there was nothing to bring across. There was nothing Rupert was being offered, right? And I'm not guessing here. You know, obviously, I have information I can't.
Of course,
real, as it were, right? But I'm not guessing here whatsoever on this, and nor will I be guessing when I make my comments on this 5,000, right? This is not guesswork by me, right? So there is no chance at all, because I think Rupert, in my opinion, this is my opinion, this part now, I think Rupert understood the situation, let's say, completely, yeah, and there was nothing to bring across. What have you got to offer? You know, what it was purely was these power mongers, these egos staying in power somewhere. Because when he launched, it was the end. I did a video, and in that video I said, Advance is dead man walking, but it doesn't know it, and it still is. It's dead man walking.
We talked about sour grapes earlier on, how it's coming across from the outside is the sour grapes are, it seems like Advance felt like Rupert owed them something, and then when he did his own thing, which it sounds like we understand why, then they were prepared to smear him. And I wanted to ask you, what happened to the Rupert from 2 months ago they were all claiming him was a hero, to the Rupert of 3 weeks ago that they said was brilliant, and then now he's a Nazi with Alzheimer's?
Well, it was 9 days. It was 9 days from the first thing to when he made his first bad video, Ben. You know, and Ben has got the political nous, or it seems to me, over the average garden slug. And I'm not sure I'm insulting the slug there, because he's doing things which are killing the party, his own party. He came out 9 days later. So how come in that 9 days he becomes so negative, you know, about Rupert? Nonsense.
Exactly.
It's all about ego. And the merger was all about the ego of people wanting to maintain power. And people like Richard Thompson will have no place in this. People like Ben have no place.
You think people like that think that we're stupid and we don't see this from the outside, that they can change their opinion on someone in 9 days and that the public won't find that a problem?
He obviously doesn't. In fact, he hasn't done just on that. He's done following broadcasts, which are even worse.
Yeah,
he's also
they
managed to say on tape, which has come out, I know it was leaked, but, you know, they're racist and it's not going to change. All right, fine. So, I mean, he's joining typical left-wing tactics. In fact, Advance are using left-wing tactics, left, right, and centre.
Agreed. We've seen it.
Good. Carry on. Just making a point, or
he donated money to Rupert's Restore Britain to do a rape gang inquiry.
Yes.
What happened there, as far as I know, and again, because I don't have all the information, and you have even less information, as far as I know, right? Unless you've got sources again. But he asked for an update on what was happening with that inquiry. He was asking for what was going on. He was asking for updates, thinking that they would be forthcoming to the people that had donated.
Hello?
And then he was met with hostility. And then he was told, fine, you know, take your money back. And he didn't want his money back.
Hello?
He kept saying to have to keep it,
Richard,
to,
hold on.
You know, give an update. And in the end,
Hello?
he said,
Can you both hear me?
have you got me? Hello?
I lost it then. I lost the connection, but I got you back.
Can I just say something? Right, the way this debate was actually run was awful. It was the way it was set up, the way it was done was just.
And don't forget, Richard Shaw didn't even know the other person was going to be on. Yeah.
Oh. Really?
Oh, wow.
Because at the beginning of this, he said, "Oh, well, thank you for telling me about the other guest."
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, that was a trap.
Wow.
He wasn't prepared. He wasn't prepared. Can I just say at this point that the donation will make this absolutely clear? And again, I know firsthand on this, right? The donation was given. No one argues with this part, to the rape gang inquiry. I donated as well, only a little bit, but I donated, and thousands of other people did as well. I didn't keep asking for. Once you donate to a charity or something like that, you don't try to make yourself part of it, right?
No.
You donate it. But if you've got a big ego, you want to be in on it, don't you? You want to pester it. You want to give
Yeah,
me
you want your name smeared all
you
over
want
it.
to be
Yeah.
part. You want to bask in the starlight, in the sunlight, don't you? You
And the
want to bask
adulation.
sunlight around Ben, about around Rupert, don't you? That's ego. That's ego. And what you'll see is the same ego coming through in different ways now, right? It came through in the attacks they've done, the racism and all this, and it's coming through big time in this. And when I speak at the end of this, I'll be speaking with fact, not opinion, right?
Mhm.
And I do have clear black and white info on that. Carry on.
Just before we carry on, I've just got to make a bit of an update and clarification, right? The Wizard's Words apparently isn't Craig. Craig appeared on the Wizard Words podcast. The difference, right? So I'm just acknowledging that mistake that I made earlier on. Okay.
Sorry.
Right. Carry on with the video.
Yeah. I don't know where I was mid speech there.
I think you was at
When
the
you lost
point
me.
where you said Ben got his money back. So I think that's where you were.
I went off and I went off and I was saying how, to be fair, Ben has been the biggest supporter of Rupert, right? When Rupert had his back against the wall from Reform, who were trying to then frame a narrative against him and were lying to try to silence him politically and assassinate him politically, Ben had his back throughout all of it, right? And then when there was those discussions and they wanted to form a party and Rupert decided to create his movement and Ben decided to then continue with Advance, Ben donated money to Restore Britain for Rupert's rape gang inquiry. What happened after that is Ben asked for updates on that rape gang inquiry. He was thinking that those updates would be forthcoming to the members and to people that have made donations. And he was met, I won't say with hostilities, but he was met with unpleasantness. And he kept asking for updates. And in the end, they said, look, just take your money back. And he didn't want his money back. And in the end, they kept, there kept being unpleasantness. So he just said, fine, So it's very different to how it's portrayed, and context is everything. And I get that you've got a vested interest in burning the house down on the way out, but it is important that if you don't have all the information, to not try to pass it off as you do.
Okay, can I
Can I
respond
just
to
say
that?
one thing? I don't care whether he wanted updates or not. If I was a multimillionaire, the last thing I would do is take £5,000 back from a rape gang inquiry, because there's no way of framing that. That is just petty.
Yeah.
I want to include that because that was basically what I thought. Like, it's got nothing
That's
to do
right.
with what he's talking about, right?
He requested it back. And the points I want to make here, first of all, black and white, because the text has been released by Rupert, right? We've got your money.
All right.
If
So
you
I want to
it
bring in Rich.
if you've got your money, if you want it back, you can have it back. Do you want it back? Yes, I want it back, please, sort of thing. He requested it, right? And I know from Rupert himself that he requested it because Rupert's released the actual text on it, right? There's no way around that. If someone says to you, well, if you want a refund, you can have it. Yes, I'll have the refund, please. That's you requesting it, right? That is disgusting. Why was the money sent back? Because instead of just being happy to leave Rupert alone, the ego wanted some of that sunshine, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same ego that's destroying Advance now, which is good, because Advance is finished. But it's the same ego. Now, I teach my kids actually right from the outset, and a message that seemed to have gone home. I didn't like when I have a poppy on me, I didn't like it because it's saying I've paid, So when you give to a charity, it's best to give quietly without anyone knowing, and that's the way you give to charity properly. You don't want any reward back from that, right? And just as Richard Shaw said there, it's unforgivable, but it's because of egos, right? And that is the problem here. It's the same reason why the merger hasn't gone ahead. Those egos there wanted to come across to get into that sunshine, and they're not allowed to have it.
Yeah, so those egos seemed very, very bruised and very hurt when Rupert set up his party. And then obviously came the smears. And they seem to have opened up a race debate that's fallen back on them and gone a little bit wrong for them. What's your take on all of that?
Well, I mean, the same I've just said. It's egos. Egos get vicious, don't they? They don't get their way, and that's what's happening.
Are you surprised to see Advance using the tactics we normally see from the left or from other people?
No, I'm not, because I've already suffered them myself. So, and other people have, like Richie and Rogue. Don't actually tell the truth, right? Don't actually say we just cut off the communications without notice, by the way. Right. Wow. I know why in behind the scenes, but I can't go into that. That's for Richie and Rogue to do, But no, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with the way Richie and Rogue will present things. I don't agree with the way other people present things. Maybe you present things, right? I don't have to agree. It's freedom of speech.
You're willing to let people talk.
I'm willing to let people talk, and I'm willing to. What I saw in Vindicator on one of his things, I actually posted on a comment. I'm willing to, come on, and then we had to manage the contact. I actually saw a man, and I'm not trying to overpraise you or not praise you. I actually saw a man searching for the truth, and I thought, oh, so many people are searching for the truth here, and they're making guesses. They're saying it's not Ben, it's the people. And no, I'm sorry, it's Ben, right? And the people around him. That's it. That's it.
So many people out there just want the truth, and the thing of it is, like yourself, you said that the whole reason you're in this is because you're disgusted with the country, you're disgusted the way things are, and you want to fix it. Yeah. So many people out there feel the same now, and again, where have they been putting the money into Advance for no reason? Are they right to feel betrayed? Are they right to feel the things that they're feeling at the moment?
Totally correct to feel betrayed. I would. It's only advice. I mean, it's up to every individual. It's up to you. People will still cling on. I had an analysis done of my videos on this. So I said to AI, I said to Grok, analyze the responses to my videos after leaving. And the answer was quite interesting. 85% were in support of me. 10% were loyal, not anti-me, just loyal to Advance. 5% were antagonistic. Right? Now, on the loyal ones, I'll say this. I understand loyalty.
Yeah.
Loyalty, in this case, politics, should never come before what's best for the country.
Agreed.
And that's where I stand, right? So I understand loyalty. I understand it. And sometimes it's a real problem because a friend of yours has done something, you don't agree with it, and so on. But you don't go out in the public and do anything, fine. That comes back to the sort of sour grapes things. If people think I've got sour grapes, that's up to them. But they'd have to swallow an awful lot if they logically thought about it. Yeah. Well, I mean, it hasn't helped me leaving Advance. It hasn't, it's allowed people to do a lot of attacks on me. But that's not helpful.
It's not you've got some gain out of it, is it? You haven't gained anything from an observable viewpoint.
No, I haven't. I've done topics on science which people didn't like, and I lost 50 subscribers on one. I've got about 22,000 at the moment, and I lost 50 on one. But I can't change the truth because of people. And what's next? They could have debated me instead of just leaving. But yeah. I'm open to debate. I'm open to come back if there's a list of questions, residual questions in the future.
When you say come back, so I mean, you said Advance are finished. Is there any way they can be revived, or is it just no?
It's gone because Advance is Ben and the little team. That's it. Ben,
right?
Ben, Floss, right. Richard Rhodes is basically Advance, and if they go, there's nothing. So because the rest is just fake.
Right. Is there anything else? Is there anything else you want to cover before we do the questions and answers section? Is there anything else you want to bring up?
I love questions and answers, and make the questions as hard as you like.
Right, chat. You heard him. Bring on the questions, reasonable questions. I mean, nothing personal or anything like that. Anything about what you want to ask about Advance UK or anything in general about the situation.
And just while I wait for those questions, just one last question for me. Would you say that Advance is a right-wing party, regardless of its faults?
I think that some of the policies or the way it's standing are okay, fine, yes. What got me, as Richard Thompson said, we're concentrating on policies on the war and policies on other issue, big issue. No, they're not. I don't see those policies emerging from Advance by the way. And when you say that, I'm thinking, where are those policies? But I know where they generally stand, and where they generally stand on policies is the correct side.
Right.
It is the correct side. I'm not arguing with that.
Yeah.
But if those policies mean trampling over people I like, people who are loyal, actually more important than people I like, that's not important, people I know who are being very badly treated, and they're willing to deceive and cheat in order to present something that's not true, then I'm not willing to be part of it. I'm as simple as that. Now, what's happened is, nothing to do with me, what's happened is the actual alternatives appeared on a massive scale compared to Advance. There's no choice, right? I might not agree with all of Restore. I've even said, although I joined on the original thing, I'm still in, I suppose, but I don't want to be a member of any party because I want to never be constrained by party politics.
Yeah.
I want to be able to, advise. As it happens, I can say that I might become involved in some of the policies to do with net zero in the future. There, I might have a better life.
Be the best man for the job.
I've got policies that'll shock people. I mean, one of them is economics. My economic policies are very simple in principle. I've done detailed papers on it, and it's to, within 5 years, make Britain the best place in the world to do business, right? The best place in the world to do business. I want the non-doms back. I want as many rich people here as possible back, because we were having 1% of on just the income tax, 1% of the population were paying 30% of the bill, right? I want more of those people paying 30% of the bill.
Yeah.
More importantly than that, I want an environment for business that's solid and understood, and it's the best place to do it. I know what we've got to do to achieve that. So I then choose policies which in the short term cost, but I've got to cover that cost. You can't do it without covering the cost, but within 5 years are paying for themselves. That's what you look for. So the basic philosophy behind it is that.
Right, I've got questions coming. Well,
yeah.
Sorry. I'll just read this question out. I think it's a bit of a... Paul, thanks so much for coming on, and it's clear you've been treated appallingly. It appears Ben is trying to implode Advance, in my opinion. Do you think Ben is looking for an out for leading Advance?
No, I don't actually. No, I don't. I don't think that. I think he is trapped in a corner, and he's got nowhere to go. And what you're getting is the reactions of an animal that's got nowhere to go. It knows it's trapped, but it can't give in. And the thing that stops it giving in is ego. But that's an opinion. That's not fact.
I hear you on that. Yeah.
Just checking which comments I can actually repeat.
I don't mind hostile ones.
Oh no, it's not hostile. It's yeah.
No, sometimes people like to leave things in the chat that you can't read out because they get your channel taken down. So,
does Paul think the college has influenced Ben's stance on Restore Britain?
No, it can't have done, because the college has had no influence at all on Ben. It's totally controlled by Ben and David Rhodes. That's it. So no.
See that? I think that's a misconception some people have had, is that it's the college that's influenced. It's not the way around, isn't it?
No. It was so funny when Ben said, on the first day he announced about Restore, and he said, we'll merge and all this. And he said, we'll have to consult the college. That was so funny for me, I mean, forget it. Yeah, forget it.
Fiction.
Quite funny. Fiction. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one, Paul, what do you think about Ben's position on dragging us into yet another foreign war?
It's going to upset people, my answer on this. My answer on this is, I used to campaign a lot on LBC. I was on 3 or 4 times a week. I used to be invited on about immigration way back, the immigration problem. I used to explain things, and I understand the problem in Britain, just like Tommy Robinson does. And we've got to get rid of Iran as what it is today. It's the center of terrorism in the world. Iran has attacked this country, made over 20 attempts in the last 12 months alone. According to in the intelligence services, we've stopped 20 terrorist Iran-backed attacks in the last year alone. So Iran is attacking us. For the short term, we've got to see this through. I detest the profiteering going on at the moment from oil and gas. I detest that, because that's pure profiteering, because that stuff's already been bought at the low price, right? So I support the war in Iran very, very much. So my policy on that is that, but that is now going into politics, which everyone can have their own opinion on. So I support the war, and I want to see Iran restored to a democracy as soon as possible. And by doing that, we'll stop so much terrorism, so much things. And it does swing the balance between China and the West better, more towards our way as well. So strategically and everything else, I support it.
So this is from Lions Raw 1. Does Paul think Ben would have tried to sabotage Restore?
How? I mean, all he's done is help Restore by doing all these silly podcasts and things. I mean, he now is, yeah, I think, and this is opinion again, but if you look at the way he is against Restore, it's become extreme. You know, they are racist and they're not going to change. Yeah, that's Ben. We heard Ben's voice saying that, right? And we heard, by the way, Ben, when that £5,000 thing came out, what was Ben's first reaction? His reaction was, "It's not true. I didn't ask for it. I didn't request it."
That's true. Yeah.
And then he said, "Close down that post. It's wrong." Someone closed down the post. I want all the other posts stopped as well, because and he tried to kill it, right? Was it true that he requested it? Yes. He tried to stop something that was true immediately.
God, it had a lot of self-imposed damage limitation.
That's who he is, yes. But just face it. You made a mistake. Face it and answer it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like death by 1,000 self-inflicted paper cuts.
Yeah. So I think he would actually, if he could. Yeah. But I don't think he. I don't think he, that's his opinions, of course. Like the last one.
Of course.
So I think he would if he could, but he can't.
This is okay if you're not okay with doing this. Are you prepared to express an opinion on Richard Inman?
You don't have to.
You don't have to. Don't put you on the spot.
No, I don't mind being put on the spot, but I'm having to think, because
it's not a particularly.
All right. When the £5,000 story came out, I texted Richard to say, "Look at this," and his answer was, "Stop spreading the poison," and not a willingness to face the truth. Yes. So wow. I think we're loggerheads now. I've no malice against Richard at all, but I'm not on his side the way he reacts. I'm not on his side on his opinions on this at all. And so I think he means well. I think he's sincere. He's not dishonest that way. He's sincere. Sincerely wrong is, I'm afraid, what I'd end up calling Richard.
I think that answers that question. I'm not going to read the question out, but yeah.
Sure.
Right. So no more like personal questions like that. I did say no more personal questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I asked it because it was like becoming a majority comment, so I just wanted to get it out of the way. So it's answered now. So yeah.
Yeah. Done and dusted.
Yeah.
So
well, I think that's it for the questions now. It's all becoming like drama, so I'm not even going to discuss that now. So yeah.
Yeah, we're not on the drama and stuff.
No. It's not what it's about. So it's about getting to the truth, not personal.
So what happens from here for you, Paul? Where are you trying to get to now? What do you see yourself doing? You said you might be.
Well, I was doing all this before. I haven't changed during the whole thing. I
know you wouldn't have done, but
changed some of the videos I made, because the videos were actually intended for the group or the energy
group
that I made quickly. I started to make them. I thought, well, these are for everyone. So, but if people watch them, so when I was posting videos and papers, no one read them. It was like I've met the perfect black hole, in space, where I can put all the information in and no one even makes a comment back, because that was the group I was in, right? So I don't change that way. I've changed in the sense that I'm doing all I know. The trouble is I'm hesitating in my language because I'm having to think, what can I say publicly? But I know, for example, what the situation is in reform and the way they're regarding net zero, which I'm not happy with. And I was worried about, I'll be honest, I was worried about the situation with Restore. And but I made my feelings clear, and of late something has happened which gives me a sign of hope. All I want is the policies to be the right policies. I'm very happy to develop policies that help people. And what I say to people is, if I'm wrong, fine. I'll give you an example. I was asked recently to do something for Wales, which is give a story, little stories you can explain in a little graphic, and you give it, someone gives it to AI and it comes out. And one of the stories is, Millibank coming up, £800 million plus being spent in North Wales on burying CO2. Marvellous, creating 800 jobs. 800 jobs. So the average cost is over £1 million per job every year. So what do? They bury 4.5 million tons of CO2. So then I look at how fast the world increases CO2, 39.5 hours. Yeah. So in 39.5 hours, your whole year's work is gone. Yeah. So you finish work on a Friday after a year's work, and by Monday, you can't see any difference. Yes. This and that is the equivalent to 20,000 nurses every year extra.
Wow.
To choose.
Wow.
Something that makes, so my job, right through all the science, right through all my videos, my job is to bring the science and bring the technology into a story that people can understand. Yeah. Everyone can understand.
Yeah.
And the next one was, if you take the price of gas, just before the war, by the way, but the price of gas has been for a long time now, and you work it through how much it would cost without all the green levies, the electricity comes out to around about 11 pence a kilowatt hour for the consumer, not the average with the standing charge of 33p, right? So it's a third of the price. The green levies are trebling the cost of electricity, not just to the home, but to industry. And that's killing us, right? And so in one page, I put together the simple calculations anyone can follow, bang, there it is. So it's very important to get those messages across. Just as much as someone challenges that, I have all the detail, the papers that explain it, yeah, and so on. So I give depth to the science, I give depth to the technology, and I try to bring about a change in society that's driving me bloody bonkers. I mean, I don't know, I'm 81, I'm healthy at the moment, thank God. I've never had any serious in my life, but I'd probably die of a heart attack when Miliband does something, I mean, that'll probably finish me off. He may finish me off with the stupidity of what's happening.
I don't know sorry, Tom. I don't know what this question is about, but this is from Capricorn. This is probably one for you, Paul. Do you think gas is running out in 2 days is true? The
answer, I don't know. I don't think that's true. But I do think there's something important to say. Theresa May did away with our gas storage in the North Sea. We had a huge underground gas storage system that used to be maintained. Yes. And what you do in any situation is like energy, you have storage systems. Now, there is no storage system for wind or solar, right? They all depend in the future on hydrogen, and the cost of electricity then would be 19 times the cost of today, right? 19 times. There's a paper on that and a video on that. And so we've done away with the storage. So I don't know what we've got. I haven't looked into it. But to answer that question fully, I would actually examine all the figures and the details. It won't be 2 days though now, but there's profiteering going on. And because all the money, all the gas and oil and petrol now that you're having to pay extra for has already been bought at a lower price. Yeah, it really is wrong what they're doing there. And that's normal when these hiccups happen, people exaggerate them. No matter what we go through on this, and by the way, Trump has said, because the problem is through the Straits of Hormuz, right? And just enough on the seas, by the way, more than 2 days in transit to us before the war. But the Strait of Hormuz, Trump has said, we'll guarantee we'll offer insurance. So they'll become an insurance company, and then the American Navy will escort these ships through the straits. And they're insured, which is a big problem because the insurance companies pull back in war. And I think we can get over it. But no matter what, it's worth it at the end. I can tell you now, if we can ever get to a situation where the poor people of Iran can run their own lives, we will have ended a center of a web of terrorism that's worldwide. And we've got to do that.
Well, while we've got you on, sorry, go on.
No, I just want to put this out there because people have been asking in the chat as well. Can you understand the position of people that the country is in a real state on its own and people need justification for getting involved. I know where you're coming from regarding the terrorism and stuff like that, but people are saying, you know, should we really be concerned ourselves with a foreign country when our own country is in such a state that it's in at the minute?
Well, actually, the country was in a hell of a state in 1930s. We're just coming through a hell of a recession, and we still have to do it. At the end of the day, the job of government and anyone sensible in government is to protect the country. It's the first thing. And we are spending billions on anti-terrorism inside UK. We are spending billions on stopping those, finding those 20 out of millions of possibilities, those 20 odd Iranian terrorist attacks we stopped last year. So it isn't as simple as saying that. The war at the moment, the war wouldn't have cost us much. Had we just backed Trump, we should have had a vote there. We should have agreed the basis. So to actually agree, my answer to it, I've got it. The answer is agreeing to the use of the bases by the American forces, because we've been stripped of our army and our navy and our air force, right? Yeah. Because of that, just supporting them and giving the bases wouldn't have cost us anything. The choice of not doing it is going to cost us a lot more. So in actual fact, in answer to the question, the cost is the other way around.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think we didn't need to send planes or ships or anything like that. Use our air bases, that cooperate with the US, get it done, and we'll concentrate. I mean, obviously, we've got to bite a bullet either way, because if we get involved, they've got terror cells here. But that's not necessarily anybody's fault. That's because the borders have been left wide open, and we don't lose in the country anymore. So
what you've got is policies being dictated by Islam inside the country with the Labour Party.
Yeah, I mean, look at the civil service. It's a fifth column within the civil service, isn't there? So yeah,
that's what you've got. And so yeah.
Well, we've got you on. Me and Vindicator often have chats, and so do the people in the chat with us, about political solutions to the problems we've got. And sometimes when we feel a little bit more down, we feel like that maybe there are no political solutions at times. Do you think that the political solutions are still there? Can we still do this? Can we still win the country back?
Oh, there's two different questions there.
I know.
Can we? It's a very sharp balance, this, between if you take the last 10 years, and if you add the left wing and the right wing, I don't like doing left and right, but if you add the left wing votes and the right wing votes together, they haven't changed much, right? They haven't changed much. So the Greens have now replaced the Liberals to some extent and Labour.
Yeah.
With me? Yeah. But if you add up the percentages, they actually outnumber us a bit. Yeah.
So scary. It's a scary thought.
That is scary. That is scary. I mean, the Greens getting in would be the biggest disaster. It won't happen, but they're going to get in London, by the way, I would think. I think London's going to go Green instead of Labour. And what we had with the last election was we didn't have people voting for Labour. We had people not voting. And they let Labour in. They've let in the worst government in our history. And the next one could even be worse if we go that way, the left wing. So what we've got is a tussle between the extreme left. A lot of the Labour Party in Parliament are extreme left, right? And the right. For some reason, we live in a world where missiles can be aimed at you, and you say, no, well, that's not war. That we can't attack where they leave. We've got to hit him in the air. And then a week later, you say, okay, we can hit the bases. I mean, we're living in a child's world.
It is.
You know,
it's a great way of phrasing it.
This is a great fan. Sorry,
just got Grok or something talking to me in my ear, you know, so, and I didn't even know it was on, you know. Let me just switch it off.
Right, I've got a great final question from the chat. Question: what did Paul think of Advance only getting 150 votes in the Gordon and Denton by-election?
Great question, because I actually said, when it was announced, of course they were breaking the rules. They took a college member. They asked him to be a candidate, which is against the rules, but doesn't matter because they break the rules as they want, and they put him in. And my first reaction was he won't even get his deposit back, right? And it was the wrong thing to do. And I actually waited up till about 3:30, and I dozed off. And then I woke up when they were giving the victory speech, the Greens, yeah. And then I looked up the votes, and I was wonderful. So I actually texted a few people in major names to say 152 votes and 156 or 7 or something, 4 or 5 more for the once the Leaving Rooney party. So
what do you think? Like, this was a great indicator of not to field candidates in Wales, though. It's like, let's not do it now.
Horrific. And yet still, all right, they talk about the other word I've left out of the whole of this talk. It's an important word, is delusional, right? And Advance is delusional. Ben is delusional.
Is that because of the bubble?
I don't know what it is. If you end up, there's a saying, if you end up, getting rid of the people who object or disagree, you end up in a situation where everyone agrees around you, and you detach yourself from reality.
Yeah, yeah.
And there is that, but there's a big test in Wales now. Prosser went on to an interview recently, the head of Wales in Advance, advocating all this bullshit about getting the candidates together, and we're already 2 of them are on the way out, and it's ridiculous. And I've got friends who are waiting to see, and they say Ben can't support this, but he is. When asked, well, the best thing to do in Wales is vote reform, and the people like Voice of Wales, who I know obviously, the people like that, and Richie and Rogue, those people are saying we've got to vote reform. There's no choice. We have to vote in any voting situation. You should always vote the nearest one to you.
Yeah, I get that.
Not to vote. Don't ever complain about what happens, because if you vote for the nearest to you, you'll gradually shift the things to you, right? So I honestly don't know whether we can rescue it or not. I don't know whether we can rescue the UK.
To me, in that particular situation, it would be far better to have a Restore in power, because when Reform in power, so when Restore does come along, if they're offering the better thing, it'd be easy to get a reform out in Wales than it would the others. Yeah.
Restore action would be easier then, because the policies were shifted.
Yeah.
Totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. Any more questions? I love the questions.
Let's see if we've got some more. Any more questions, chat? Just keep firing them. We'll take a few more, and then what I'll do is next, I'll promote your channel so everybody knows where to go, where to find you, Paul. Have you got any other social media you want to promote as well while we're doing things?
I don't do much besides YouTube. I've got X. X is my handle is @ Truth on Science, with a capital T and a capital O and a capital S. Truth on Science.
Sorry.
I will post all the links to your social media in this live stream anyway, so people can find you.
I don't do Facebook.
I don't either, really.
My grandchildren. I get updates on all my 10 grandchildren and what's going on.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a good one. Someone wants to know: have you written any books?
No, I've been asked to. I've got. Can I just say something? My last big paper, science paper, where I actually this is so important. I've exactly explained every year's world temperature from 1982, and explained how it came about. Exactly. That paper was 138 A4 pages. So it's a book. It'd be about 250, 240 page, 280 page book. And that was one paper. So people have asked me to write books, but that's a slow way of doing things, and I'm impatient. So I do videos and things like that, or I do papers. And now below the videos, I give all the papers. So the video is for everyone to understand in 10 minutes or in 15 minutes. I do a complete course. I do a 2.5-hour course, which is all indexed. So you can go to any part of it to see what you want to learn. And it takes people from zero understanding of climate up to, knowing far more than vast majority of people. So it's like a complete course, and you can always go back to where you were in it. And it's on YouTube. And so I do all sorts of things,
So the next question is, they're saying, Paul, what can we do to expose the real Ben and the real Advance? I think we already have today, to be honest with you.
We have today, and I thank you both for this. You've given me the opportunity, without hindrance, without bias,
our pleasure,
to explain the story. And the benefit of that is for the public to me. So I'm actually doing it in the sense, I'm exposing it. I was watching one of yours, as I said, one of your videos, and I thought, I can't stand these people trying to get to the nuts of it and getting good guesses. You had good guesses. But, why not, come on and actually just tell it really as it is.
Appreciated.
Pardon?
Yeah.
It's really appreciated. It is.
And if anyone out there wants to check with Ben, why don't you ask Ben this question? Did you come on to the college forum the college WAG WhatsApp group and stop Paul Burgess claiming he'd broken the Constitution when all he'd done was ask questions. Did you do that, Ben? Yes or no? And after that, did you apologize to Paul for doing it? Because the answer to that is yes, I did that. No, I didn't.
I think, to be honest with you,
Do you know? Sorry, Ben.
I think the best thing to do for everybody to hold to account is wherever Ben's having a live stream with some of these influencers you can get on there, is ask him these questions. It's hold him to account personally.
Yeah.
Get on there.
Yeah.
Ask him, hold him to account.
The last time Ben was on with Dan Mutton, the first question he said, "There's the voice. You said, you know, that restore our racist and will always be." Yeah, they played it, and he said, "I will deal with that later in the thing." He never did.
Never did. Yeah.
He never did.
That's the whole thing.
Back the thing down the road. I think Richard Thompson's quite good at batting the things or giving standard bloody answers to nothing. Yeah, nothing else.
I will say, I thought, forgotten his second name again. I keep getting them both mixed up. What's it? Richard Shaw. Yeah.
Shaw.
I think he could have been better prepared going into that. In my saying that, he didn't even know, did he? He didn't even know he was going to face it, so I can't really say that. Yeah.
So
Sorry, go on.
Yeah.
Richard knew all my story, but I know that firsthand. But first of all, he didn't prepare a list of things, you know, to make a point on, because he didn't know who it was going to be. He thought he was on the show by himself, and so that was sprung on him. And secondly, it's always harder to talk about someone else's experience than your own. Always.
Yeah.
So,
do you know Rupert Lowe?
We communicate.
Oh, well, I guess the reason I'm asking this is to,
can I just say this?
To frame the idea of what do you think about the accusations that have been levied towards him? Do any of them stick?
Well, they shouldn't stick. They're not true.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
I've sent Rupert Lowe my videos and things for over a year, I think. But I didn't really start communicating until I'd left Advance or was there. You with me? I didn't want to, but we have communicated. I am in communication, yeah. And I find him as just a sensible, common sense man. So I can ask him a question and I get a one-liner. I love it, yeah. But it's not up for me to use those conversations.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah.
But again, I'd already left. I'd left Advance and decided then to increase the communication. Yeah, that's the best way to put it.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people by mistake. You know? I used to communicate directly with Richard Tice, you know, and I met a lot of people as well in the green room at GB News. I was on for about 40 weeks on GB News with a spot on climate for about 40 weeks, and so I was on that, and that one there that you've got was explaining the net zero agenda. That one actually is the total course. That's 2.5 hours. So I prefer, that's much more digestible than a book. If I printed a book and sold 10,000 copies, so what? Yeah, I can do a video there and get 20,000 copies, and it's 2.5 hours long, and people can come back to it. And I'm a video-driven person. I really am. You know, when I did the Tommy Robinson videos, it's quite a story, because he phoned me up and he said, well, first of all, I'd send them to him and he'd say, "Oh, I've got a better story than that. I did a jump over a fence then, got arrested." And he said, "I'm really proud of that jump." So, you know, and he told the story. And so I'd send me stuff and I'd include it and so on. And then we were happy. And he said, "Right, it's in 3 parts. So what we'll do, and we're going to release one today, Friday." And he said, "I'll release one on Saturday and one on, when I release one after we've digested each one, I'll reach another one." And he phoned me up about 10 o'clock at night and said, "We've got to release the second part. They're demanding it. There's too much demand on the second part." And we get to the third part. So all people are watching all 3 straight away. And then we got 1 million views within days. And then it was stopped. Yeah. It's by the way, it's still the best. I'm going to be big-headed here. The Tommy Robinson video called The Real Tommy Robinson's Part 1, 2, and 3 is by far the best video to understand who Tommy Robinson is.
It's still a class act, that video today. Yeah, it's good. It's a good video.
Well,
I'd recommend anybody go watch it.
2019. It goes up to 2019.
Yeah.
And
Right,
explains.
so you know where to go, everybody. That's his social media. Go and subscribe to Paul's climate change channel. I think they all will, actually. Right. Is there anything else you want to say in conclusion? Oh,
just thank you for giving the opportunity for the truth to come out to the public.
no problem. It's been an absolute pleasure. Tom, any final questions you want to ask?
Just want to say thanks for having me on, Vin. And Paul, it's been lovely to catch up with you again, and thanks for coming and speaking the truth to us. As you rightly said about Vin, it's all he's been searching for is the truth. So thank you.
And hopefully in the future, when we've actually got a proper podcast up and running, you can come back on and we'll have a chat about climate change and all that kind of
I'd love
stuff.
to do that.
Yeah, really. Yeah, that'd be really interesting. Yeah. Hopefully we'll get Richie and Rogue on next time because they won't come and tell their story. Yeah. So yeah, thanks everybody for coming along, and yeah, thanks chat. It's been brilliant, all the questions and everything. It's been amazing. I've really enjoyed this. It's been very informative, and we've got the truth out there. So now there's not just one narrative, there's one actually countering it as well. So that's what it is. That's what it's all about. It's free speech and just getting that message out there so everybody's got an informed decision. They can make an informed decision on the information they've got, can't they?
Truth over speculation.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
So yeah, thank you everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you to Tom. Thank you to Paul. Thank you for coming along. Thank you, chat. Thank you to Steve for moderating. Doing a brilliant job, mate. Thank you very much. This is Vindicator. Sign off.